We'll look at it next year.
Good morning. We're going to call the December 26, 2017 Wright County Board meeting to order. We'll begin this morning with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you all. And I just wanted to mention, people know that I wasn't at the board meeting last week. I had my knee replaced, so if I do start agreeing with the light in here too often, it could be the drugs talking, and so you can escort me out at that point.
What was it that we wanted to get accomplished?
Okay, the minutes from last meeting, December 19th. Does anyone have any?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it. Okay.
Motion by Commissioner Hewson, second by Commissioner Delight. Lee, did you have anything? Deb? No changes? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The review and approve the agenda for today.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve today's agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Potter to approve today's agenda. Seeing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The agenda is approved. The consent agenda for today. Does anyone have anything that they would like to have removed from the consent agenda for further discussion? I see our auditor, Treasurer Bob Hevel.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, just adding to the fact of the confirmation of the approval of the warrants for today. This is the last day that we're paying warrants on the cash basis. I'll be presenting to you a year-end report based off of that, but I also want a precursor that we're going to do a little bit more education with you on the modified accrual basis. So there will be bills that we've incurred that we didn't get a chance to pay till January, so I'll go over that with you. But just pointing out, this is the last day that we are paying cash-based claims. So.
Okay, so did you want anything, you didn't need anything removed or anything like that?
Oh, just clarifying.
Just clarify.
Not added, okay.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Commissioner Delight and second by Commissioner Hewson for the consent agenda. Seeing no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Our timed agenda, we have no timed agenda. Lee, this is fantastic. How are you doing this? Okay.
You know, maybe because we had two people from Health and Human Services for those other things, that maybe we should have pulled those and made them come up and tell us all sorts of stuff about it. I hate to see them come for no reason.
Would you be able to do technology?
No.
Okay, Derek, would you? one of you
want to split it, Mark?
You know what? It actually might not be a bad idea. It's kind of. So.
Sure, go ahead. Start.
All right. Well, so the IT committee met on December 13th. Members present were Commissioner Dahlhead and Commissioner Vetch, Adam Tagaro, Lee Kelly, Mike McMillan, Christine Bartlow, Todd Hoffman, Tanya West, Bob Hebla, Tony Rasmussen, Steve Job, Jamie Goodwin Schwartz. Others present were Olga Strobel, Sherry Nelson, Connie Mae Cooper, Britta Holland, Scott Wieland, Brian Asselson, Alec Helverson, Keith Triplett, Lindsay Meyer, and Jen Rassett. Quite a group. First item on the agenda, we talked about crop productivity. This was presented by Tony Rasmussen in the assessor's office. The implementation of the CPI crop productivity index for the assessor's offices, I can't even get it right today, was presented to decide which form to move forward with. We met back in November to discuss there was an opportunity to use a online-based from WSB or to actually purchase the software and fully integrate it. We were trying to find a way to be able to move forward with this this crop productivity project with less time for IT, but after having done some research both ways, it kind of didn't make sense to go with the online version through WSB because it was going to be close to about the same amount of work. So the idea was to be able to, could we do this software project and have it done before May 3rd for Tony to be able to use it for assessments, and IT shuffled some items around and felt confident they could do so. So the action was to move forward with the project with a goal of May 3rd completion date with the full implementation of the CPI project. Second item was net mail presented by Adam Tagaro. The net mail discussion centered around Office 365 Outlook transition to a 2-year limit for inboxes, with net mail being phased out. Currently, email is saved in net mail for 3 years, allowing access to information that may no longer be in an inbox. Net mail has presently been renewed to June 2018 to cover the move to O365. Members in previous meetings had expressed interest in extending that renewal to allow time for proper department creation and usage of record policies. Presented 2 options: a 6-month extension of the usage of record retention, or a 6-month extension of net mail ending in December of 2018 for $5,070. A 1-year extension of read-only access of net mail ending in June of 2019 for $67.92. 62. People had discussed funding for the net mail extension. Tagaro and Nelson confirmed that IT has worked out extensions into the current budget. I questioned if the read-only option would be searchable. It was confirmed that it would appear similar to what we currently have. So after extended discussion back and forth, it was recommended to go with option 2 as presented, a 1-year extension to June 2019 with the read-only option. So for the 6762 item, do you want to do ERP, Mark, or should I?
Why don't you go ahead? I'll add into it because I was at the meeting.
All right. So we finally had the presentation of the culmination of months and months of work on the ERP, which for the last 30 days, Scott Wieland worked hard to do the vetting process on this. IT business analyst and Lindsay Meyer, assistant finance director, have been actively working with departments to discover how an ERP can or should impact them, and thus the county, and that's the county. They found that an ERP can benefit Wright County with a faster data, better data, and cheaper data when looking at a cost per transaction. They found an ERP would bring significant savings on productivity of personnel. Their findings, should the county benefit from the ERP, are variable due to the significant investments both in money and time. The cost of an ERP is anywhere from $500,000 to $4 million. The timing is, the timing is integrated and configured. An ERP module can take anywhere from 6 to 18 months. Wheeling clarified that an ERP is used to automate, integrate, and report. Meyer stated that the benefits of this would be seen in spending in an sorry, can't even see this today. I should go out and back and grab my glasses. I'm gonna have to use yours, Mark, because I can't see it.
At the bottom.
There. Meyer stated that the benefit of this would be seen in spending time using data to manage instead of spending time finding data first, which is the current process. Wheeland also clarified that an ERP is not a customer management system, nor is it a silo function with each department acting independently. An ERP would call for all departments and all functions with each department acting independently. An ERP let me just kind of synopsis this.
Mine might be stronger.
Pass mine over.
Or weaker.
That one's there. These are better. Oh, these are much better.
It only took 1 year, but we aged him.
I can't wait to see what happens next year.
I know. All right. proprietary with vendors such as Tyler, SunGuard, who perform the installation themselves, and the second type would be plug-and-play modules where a product can have multiple integrators available. A key finding with the county's personnel experience spreadsheets fatigue and multiple levels. Example of this being human resources, where 3 different systems are used for tracking. None of the 3 work together, so same entry. I can't even. There's no paragraph breaks in this, so it's really hard to read. All right. Another finding was the frustration of working with stale, same entry needs to be made multiple times. Another finding was the frustration of working with stale, same entry needs to the same multiple times. Another finding was the frustration. I can't even. I'm going to pass over to you, Mark, here, because I can't. I'm going to have to go to the back and grab my glasses. All right, Mark.
Yep.
So, all right, sorry about that.
Where are we at?
I'm midway through here.
Another finding was a frustration.
Another finding, okay. So one of the things that,
Excuse me a second, I'm going to go back and grab mine.
was, figured out that, be able to track accounts much better, also able to assist in contract payments, and also help with, some of the, grant applications, because there are some requirements now with the grant applications that are becoming cumbersome with, having to, for reporting purposes. Switching over to this, there are currently 10 pending projects that we're going to have to figure out how we're going to do. An ERP system will replace those. So we're going to have to figure out a workaround and figure out high priorities and that sort of stuff then on how we're going to proceed with an ERP system. That question, if the cost savings would be seen by buying more or certain modules up front. Targo responded that the question was valid and may be answered after fully analyzing the project. Suggested that it would be more beneficial to bring an outside party to help in determining what the county specifically need from an ERP and how to roll it out. Myself and Hoffman agreed that ERP seems to be a very large project, similar to what Zerker was for the Sheriff's Department, and an outside vendor was very useful and very helpful in that situation. Some major considerations for an ERP are scalable, integration with current systems approach. It will be likely lengthy. IT will help, but ERP as a whole is a business process. So we have to have everybody buy in on this and be willing to take the good with the bad while we're going through it. But in the long run, it would be it would bring the county into the future going forward. Some major considerations, again, are scalable. Major IT projects ongoing and future are the current Office 365 transition, the Justice Center, and the coming tax CAMA changes. Infotech is a resource that we've used in the past. They have handled ERPs, and Infotech has a workshop available to assist us with an ERP project. Parlo felt that Infotech had done a nice job of working with the county last spring. If you could recall, we used them for figuring out how to put the IT together and for the future. Several in attendance expressed interest in exploring utilizing such a workshop. It was asked if an RFP would be an end product of the workshop. Often wondered if Infotech is able to aid in the development of the RFP, and also if they're able to help project manage, implement the RFP. We stated that this is very beneficial to have the same person team develop and implement the project itself, for which it was for Zerker. This allowed key parts to be known and actively addressed as the reason behind them was fully understood. We did have a conference call with Infotech last week, Thursday.
Yep, it's Thursday.
And I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. Final discussion revolved around funding the ERP. Commissioner Vetch requested a review of current monies planned for stated effective projects in CIP. He also questioned how payment would be issued for the ERP. as the length of implementation is quite long before the actual product can be utilized. So the action was being take steps to develop an RFP. Tagaro will contact Infotech to see exactly what they can do for the county pertaining to an RFP and project management of ERP. Tagaro will review and send out CIP dollars currently held in affected ERP projects.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is for Commissioner Dryden. And I support going down this path, but I would hope that when it comes time for some kind of presentation, it's a committee of the whole, so the rest of us can get a better understanding of what we're getting into and how it can be beneficial to us.
Yeah, what was decided is we met with, via a phone conference with Infotech. And really the next step is for them to walk us through what actually are we going to do, what are we going to replace, some of the timeline and that information before we actually make a decision.
Okay.
So, you know, from the high point, it looks like an ERP is best for the county for the long term. Mm-hmm. But with them helping us exactly trying to figure out what is best for the county with the IT group, and it's 4-day meeting, if I remember correctly, with them.
Yep, they plan a 4-day session.
Yeah, so a 4-day session with them. So it's not a high level. It's an in-depth.
Yeah.
So then at that point, then we'll be able to figure out, do we really want to proceed? Because it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be seamless. It's going to be a lot of work for everybody. But going forward from that point, by all looks, it should make life a lot simpler in the long run, you know, for our kids and grandkids.
Streamline things a bit.
Mr. Chair, follow-up question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Dryden, so with that in-depth and how it is, and like I've struggled with the transportation to try to get that on track, and I think the IT was the next one up on the list that we need to fix. And if this is something we need to do to make the county better going forward, better well-equipped for the future, it's going to be worth the pain and struggle. But I just would hope that we, as a whole board, get a little bit more detail on this, so when we have constituents ask us, what are you doing, at least we can have a reasonable level of intelligence answering them.
Yeah, well, once Infotech comes up with their suggestions and that sort of stuff, I would assume that we would have a presentation for the whole board by the IT department. Because, yes, it's a very, very expensive system. But again, it will, from what we've seen, we should have some savings in efficiency. You know, right now we're entering the same information 2 to 3 times in some things, which don't make a lot of sense. Yeah. With what some of the auditor's office did with their lean things that they've done, they've been able to narrow down a number of things. So an ERP system definitely will help, like the sheriff's office and Health and Human Services, work with the auditor's office closer and a lot easier to work with. Okay. Now, one of the things an ERP system may have would replace OpenGov also, because some of the information there. So the whole idea is to look at it. What will we give up by going to an ERP system? What will we gain? What current projects do we have to hold off on? What do we have to do for stopgap measures? Since Infotech has done this many times, it's not something new to them. They've done a lot with counties. In fact, I asked, and I believe he said 12 or 13 counties
I think
they've currently worked with at this point, and they're actually doing one right now.
It would be interesting to maybe get some referrals from them too, just to see if...
Oh, they will. They will. It's up to us, but they will work with us all the way through implementation if we want. Okay. I can't remember the first step. Part of it was included in our subscription with Infotech.
Correct. That would be the 4-day workshop. We did increase the level of our membership with them for 2018. So as part of that, we do get one quote-unquote free workshop with them, a 4-day workshop.
That's neat.
If we would choose to pursue the ERP with an RFP, they could manage that, put it out, and handle the process for us for an additional cost.
Yeah, do you remember what that cost was?
I think it was between 40 and 50,000, if I remember.
Yeah, I had
but it
30
was-
in my mind, but again, it's not cheap, but from what we paid for the Zerker system and, how much it helped the sheriff's office trying to figure out, I think it's well worth it.
So with the, because I was out with the WCAT, or Trailblazer meeting, when you guys had the conference call, so that this 4-day workshop is just mostly going to be one more step closer to setting the groundwork to move forward to the next step of an RFP?
Right.
Okay. Because it's not actually going to, that workshop's not going to be actually developing the RFP, it's going to be mostly just kind of,
It's gonna help us to be able to figure out how to develop an
Okay.
RFP. And again, it will tell us with no uncertainty, do we want to move forward with this?
Right. And what functions will or will not be included as part of an ERP.
I know from our last meeting, we listed out, it's just kind of the pie in the sky on some of these softwares that could be impacted or kind of like maybes. So this workshop will hopefully kind of take care of some of those maybes.
Yes, with their experience, they'll all be able to help us figure out, and because there's so many different systems
It
out
sounds
there.
like we can probably just keep moving on from here. There's gonna be a lot more coming down the road, I guess, so.
Yep.
Okay.
What, you don't want to keep talking about ERP?
No, we're probably good.
Thank you, Commissioner Delight, for answering.
And thank you, Commissioner Delight,
I'm
for
sure there'll be
covering that
more
for me,
coming.
because now I can see.
So you know, we did schedule the workshop for sometime towards the end of January, first part of February.
Oh, okay.
Throw out some dates for them. So,
Did they give you any idea in that conference call on what they've seen in their experience from timelines from start to finish on some of these processes?
I didn't ask that, I asked pricing, and it was 500,000 to 4 million, again, depending
Yeah.
on how many modules. But, to answer to one of your questions is, how do we pay it, is
Yeah,
that
what
an
did they say
upfront
about-
account, and it varies, so.
It varies, okay, so some of them are just over the period of implementation?
Yep.
Okay.
OpenGov, I asked about the OpenGov project. I've stated that the IFS, which is our current financial system, is currently in a necessary upgrade. And after that, OpenGov application will be upgraded. OpenGov currently pulls its information from IFS. Right now, it's having to be pushed to it, and they're doing that periodically. Once the IFS upgrade and the OpenGov is connected to it, it'll automatically pull from IFS. IFS is used by the majority of the counties in Minnesota.
And do you want to, for everyone's benefit,
The IFS is our financial.
IFS?
Is our financial, and it's, we use it, again, through with a number of other counties, and it's through, Minnesota, I can't think of the name of it now, but it's, a coalition of counties that work together to use the same type of software instead of duplicating efforts. Credit card acceptance, I'd also questioned, Auditor Hiva. On the update on the credit card acceptance, Hiva stated they're currently surveying or being sent to departments to determine the equipment they will need. This is the first step, with further integration being down the road. Specifically for CSTS, which is the court services. Hiva reassured that the project is active and in progress. That was just informational only. Last item was Zerker, which is the sheriff's office. Tagaro brought up the topic of Zerker. Zerker recently bought out a smaller company that had contracted with 3 local police departments. If you recall, we offered Buffalo, Annandale, and Howard Lake to work with us with Zerker, but they were comfortable with the company they were with. The company they were with was bought by Zerker.
That's gonna work out then.
And Zerker signed contracts with them for them to go onto our system without
telling us about it.
Yeah. So we're trying to figure out how that's all gonna work. I mean, it's definitely gonna be a positive situation, which is why we asked in the first
Exactly.
Well,
place.
I think we have always kind of held out the olive branch there already, so
But it's unfortunate that,
a little more communication maybe.
yeah.
And Mr. Chair, Commissioner Light, I think part of the problem with the police departments initially was the cost. And to front that kind of cost when they were in a system that was working for them, but certainly the goal, our hope was that the sheriff's office and the departments could be on the same system just for faster communication and the ease of reports and all that.
We were,
Information.
a lot of our discussion was to how much IT work is gonna be needed from county staff.
Yeah, we still don't know.
We still don't know,
Yeah.
And that's part of the
ongoing.
issue.
Yep.
Is that, Zerker did this without consulting, and we don't know how much is gonna be involved with us, which obviously will have to be some. So we're trying to get a handle on that.
And then the question is whether it's something we do as a freebie for the cities to this, or is it something that we charge back for the amount of IT time that we have into it, especially if it ends up becoming an extensive amount of time, because this sets kind of a precedence going forward from an IT perspective when we're doing work with the cities that is, in this case, it's kind of initiated by the cities, because if they would have went with Zerker with us from the get-go,
Right.
it would have been a different story
Yep.
than what it is now. So it's kind of,
Yeah.
Now with our IT group kind of being overloaded, we've been trying to figure out how much time it's going to take. We suggested that anything in administration be put on hold, if we have to do this.
Sounds good.
So anyway, there was a meeting on December 20th with Zerker. I don't have any information from that meeting at all. So they're finding out what the next steps are. So with that, I'll approve the minutes and the recommendations.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Delighten, second by Commissioner Vetch. Further discussion? Those are pretty well vetted, okay? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved and the recommendations as well. Advisory Committee, Advisory Board updates. Mike, did you have anything, or?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just an update, Region 7W Transportation Policy Board, we did send a letter to Patrick Wiederman. He's Director of Capital Planning and Programming, Department of Transportation, in reference to the Corridors of Commerce funding, which is now a 50-50 split, and Met Council wanted to switch that. We have a letter here that aligns with the League of Minnesota Cities, the Association of Minnesota Counties, Transportation Alliance, and that basically prevail upon the Department of Transportation to stay at the 50-50 split as outlined by Minnesota State Statute 161.088, to stay where it's at right now, and if any changes to that, it should go through the proper channels. So that's good to have that in there, to make sure that we have a strength in numbers and telling them that when they hand out this money, just the way it's been going is the way it should be going, not to change at the 11th hour. The other item is most of us were at the Mayor's Association meeting, and Chair Burrell had a good reason why he wasn't there. But the Mayor's Association had Dane Smith through the Justice and Growth program was there, put on a pretty good demonstration and report on what the Towards One Minnesota Rural Project, your Rural Equity Project, and that. Some things have been old, rehatched things. Some things are doable for us to meet the line. As much as I liked a lot of things, they just try to make it so we understand the Metro and Greater Minnesota understand each other and the needs, which are different from each other, instead of throwing fireballs at each other all the time down at the legislature and they do nothing. To try to find some kind of bridge to get them together. Some of the people have now used Dane Smith is stepping down. Matt Schmidt, former representative, who I found willing to work across the aisle to get things done, is on that staff there, which is pretty good, but some of their board of directors people here are, some of the people for us out here in the conservative land are part of the fireball slingers down at the Capitol that need to be addressed and need to have this. If you went through this list, some of these people here, some of the deals people I had to deal with there. Hopefully we'll be able to find common ground to make it so we can move forward. On this, I plan on attending a couple of their meetings just to try to make sure that they follow through with what he was saying there at the presentation. So, and the other thing is Delano had that Community Spirit Commission put together after that unkind incident that happened there. And I think they moved forward pretty well with that. Another item that came up was the with reference to like Annandale with broadband. That led me to want to find out if we can at some point in time, hopefully in February, have Jane Leonard from the DEED come out, the committee of the whole come out and explain broadband to this whole county to see what role we can or should have in this discussion, because it seems to be important with quite a few of our communities, and it keeps coming up, and the amount of money that the legislature hands out for that border-to-border broadband is doesn't quite cut it for what it's needed out there. And
isn't the Blinders Foundation doing a lot with broadband in the rural counties too?
They are, but my level of ignorance is pretty high on how, where should we fit in this, because a lot of counties that have stuck their nose into this issue have helped their counties immensely. And I just want all of us to have a higher level of understanding of, what is our role in this? Is it a major player? Is it a support role? And I think we get somebody out from DEED to help explain this, and maybe have a few administrators from other towns here have a broad discussion on how we deal with this going forward, and how do we serve our underserved areas? How does this work? Where's the money come from? What does it take? I mean, there's just every time I ask a question, it makes me ask two more questions, and those kind of things I think I need a little help on this one.
And Mr. Chair, Commissioner Potter, this came up as a board, I believe, 4 years ago. I mean, maybe it was very limited in our discussion because Annandale struggles so much, and Annandale and South Haven area, and people were kind of surprised that they did not. Now they do have a better system, but really had internet that was going down on them all the time. So it was really, but businesses were struggling and people working from home were struggling because sometimes they just wouldn't have internet maybe for 2 days. And so I think continuing the discussion is
just for our level of
is good. At that time there wasn't really an interest for the county to be involved per se, but maybe we had a lot of other things going on at the time. So,
well, I wish more of the county had what Monticello has, competition.
Yep.
There's 3 service providers there, which they get a lot better deals than the rest of us do.
Absolutely, I will attest to that. And I tell you, we get a lot stronger service too, because I tell you, on top of getting the better price, they're all trying to offer you faster service. I really struggle. My
still
parents
think
live in that Annandale area.
The free market still comes out in the long run, and I don't know where.
Mr. Chair, this is where I was going with this, is just have somebody come out and explain it, and then we find out what role we want to play in this. And maybe it's not the lead, maybe it's just a supporting role for free enterprise, I don't know, but I think that we need more information before we can get to that answer.
And I agree with you, Commissioner Burrell. Free market ultimately is the best place for this. It's just finding a way to entice the rural areas where it may not be as financially viable for them to get out to some of those rural areas. But ultimately, in today's society, we have to have this service in those areas. I mean, if we go back, a century ago, nobody would have put electricity out into a farmer's field. But they needed the electricity out there, even though it wasn't probably the most financially viable thing to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. That was, he had some good information, and it was, the dinner was fabulous.
Wow. That was a very, very nice dinner. Very nice evening.
It was a very nice evening.
Yeah, some people
and we're
left.
Celebrating.
Some people left early though.
Well,
After
Before they had an opportunity.
They ate first, though.
Yeah. Before they had an opportunity to be, had their birthday
for us to sing-
recognized.
I know.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday
My
to 'em.
kids, I was stayed as close as long as I could
Yep.
until 9 o'clock, and my kids kept texting me, wondering when I was coming home to have my birthday cake with them.
No,
So,
yeah, I mean, that is a better priority.
so I
But let the record reflect, he stuck around for the dinner.
We did, yes,
and for the presentation.
yes.
I kept watching my clock going. I was hoping I could get a chance to talk, but
It did get to be kind of late, but, yeah, I had to add to that as I was at the Annandale Safe Schools meeting on Wednesday also, and continue to have the mental health issues come up and concerns of drugs that are out there. But it was, it's always a good meeting to get everybody together, and
Okay.
that's all I have to say.
Okay, Commissioner Delaney.
Really nothing. We had their Transportation Committee of the Whole on Wednesday last week, so there'll be more information coming for that. Glad to see you're up and about. Looking forward to seeing you running the next marathon.
Let's see how that
With
goes.
your bionic knee now.
There was a guy in recovery. He had both knees done.
Ooh, at the same
One
time?
hip, and that was his second hip. So I mean, gosh, you need a couple shoulders, and nothing gonna stop this guy. It is amazing, I'll tell you.
Wow.
Up to see you. Glad to see you up and running.
Thank
you.
You look good.
Thank you, thank you.
You're not that good yet, but you look good.
No, okay. I'll work on that.
Okay.
Sure.
So Thursday last week down in Glencoe, we had our Trailblazer meeting. We basically kind of finalized the culmination of all the changes to the JPA for the Trailblazer. We culminated the changes to the JPA for WCAT. So I think we have all the bylaws and JPA agreements, everything ironed out. So now it's just going forward, and hopefully it's from a board perspective, it'll be business as usual starting in 2018. Basically did a lot of discussion and kind of finalizing compensation benefit packages and finalizing that for the 2018 year. And the other item that we discussed at this meeting was unmet needs and wanting to purchase it, whether we would or wouldn't purchase any new buses going into the next year. A lot of this was kind of brought up because setting a level of service, what we set for a level of service in the next year or two is probably where the bar will be set, because rural transit funds from the state side is looking to become a little bit more scarce. So we meaning WCAT members wanted to make sure that since we are going to add some more service in our area with the county coming into it, we wanted to make sure we raised that bar a little bit. We offered conglomerate from WCAT to purchase 3 buses. We were hoping to get Sibley and McLeod County to at least match us with purchasing 1. They, due to budget constraints, felt like they couldn't do that, but they were okay if we wanted to purchase 3 buses for the use up in Wright County. They were okay with it as long as we were going to fund them. So with the WCAT cities and Wright County still keeping us under that dollar amount of $700,000 that we kind of talked about, with the 596 being the operating capital, we're still under that amount. We'll have 3 new buses and being able to set that level of service going forward. So,
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Have both counties passed everything so that they're...
yep, all the counties, everybody's on board. Yep, there's.
And then, how many drivers are they currently short, and why would we buy 3 new buses if they can't find drivers?
See, that's another discussion. Now, all the short driver, they are back online now. The only short drivers they have is in Glencoe. The buses in Buffalo has been running very well and filling its positions. Glencoe is having the harder time. They're short at, I believe it's like 3 or 4 right now. They were short more than that at one point.
I thought I read, but I guess I didn't realize where it was.
Where it was,
I thought
yeah.
it was here in Buffalo.
I agree. I thought it originally too, because the number at one point, I think it was like 6 or 7 drivers short.
Yeah.
But it's all in the Glencoe area. They're having a little bit harder of an employment market there than.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A comment for Commissioner Vetch and the public. The level of service that we were looking at for Wright County, we are looking at 6 buses to add to the fleet to meet the level of service. I mean, so 3 falls a little short where we want to be, but due to budgetary constraints that we had on us. I mean, 3 is better than 0. We were hoping for 6. And hats off to Commissioner Vetch for working real hard to get this going and hoping that MnDOT will see the value in this and maybe make some modifications to that so we can get up that 6 bus level of service at some point in time.
That was one of the things that they did bring up at the mayor's meeting, that they were grateful for the county, and Commissioner Potter said it was because of you that this is happening. So everybody was disappointed that they couldn't sing you happy birthday.
And I kept watching. I felt terrible to leave too. It was a lose-lose situation. I really wanted to finish out the evening with there because it was a good evening.
But it did get to be a little later than some years or some meetings, yeah.
And is that it, Derek?
Yep, basically I wanted to put out there, the cost for the buses, those 3 buses was $82,500 for each bus. That was the reason we had kind of sailed in at the 3 buses, because that was going to be the dollar amount that would max out the city's contribution with the counties. If we would have went above that, the county would have been funding the buses 100% on their own. So to get the 6 buses, we would have had to shell out close to about $250,000. And we didn't talk about that. That was dollar amounts outside of what we talk about, and we had to make that decision at that meeting because they had to be turned in before the first of the year. So that's kind of finalized the decision at the 3 buses. So
okay. And then, if the board would indulge with me, I have a very special guest with me today. Honey, would you come up to the podium, please?
Uh-oh. Nurse Lynn.
I just wanted to say, I didn't know, there was kind of some uncertainty whether we'd even have this meeting, so I kind of said my goodbyes as board chair. I'm still going to be on the board, but I acknowledge a lot of people, administration and our county commissioners that I've been so thankful to be so supportive of me over the years. But without anything else, so my wife, and you all know this as board members too, if it wasn't for your spouses, we'd be in a world of hurt a lot of times. So, honey, thank you for a wonderful year, for supporting me all the way through too. So,
Thank you, Lynn.
Yeah, thanks, Lynn.
all right, any other business to come before the board? With that, we are adjourned at, we'll call that about 9:42.